Hi everyone, and welcome to the GET lecture on the final module of the course. The module is entitled Green IT. My name is Anh Nguyễn Đức, and yeah, you can see this my informations. I'm working as an associate professor in the department, and my research interest is software product development, empirical software engineering, entrepreneurships, and recently about green IT. So I'm teaching a master course on green IT and GIS at the campus. I have two parts for my lecture today. So the first one will be about green IT, and the second one on the greening by IT. Within this video, we will cover the first part one. I will talk about the environmental impact of IT, of the current IT industry, and you will be aware of what is happening and what is the mainly negative impact that the IT industries are producing. We also talk a bit about the positive impact. Specifically, we will mention about the energy consumptions for both productions and usage of IT artifacts, which will talk about data center, which is not the future anymore, but is what happening today. Hardware production and usage, software production and usage, and the process management. And in the part two, I will present in the next video, we will talk about the adoption of IT for greening other industry sectors and for the society. Okay, so first of all, IT is the short for information technologies. I think this is not a strange term for everyone. And you are using the IT products, IT artifacts every day in our life. IT has become the foundation infrastructure for the current modern human societies, for the world and for all industry sectors. By definition, IT is the use of computers to create and process, store, retrieve, and exchange all kinds of electronic data and information. So what does that mean when we put the word green in front of IT? So that green information technologies. Green IT is the practice of creating, storing, using the IT data informations in a environmentally sustainable way. Green IT aims to minimize the negative impact of IT operations, right, by designing, manufacturing, operating, and disposing of computer and related parts like hardware and software, and creating and improving the positive aspects of the IT for the environment. By the definition, we see there will be two things, and greening of IT and greening by IT. So greening of IT, talking about the environmental impact within the IT activities, IT industry itself. And greening by IT, we talking about the adoptions of IT-based applications to create a positive environmental impact in other sectors. But in this chart, in this diagram, you also see the third box, which is using IT to promote green initiatives, like using social medias, using different communication channels via IT platform to politically or organizationally promote the green activities. So this is more at the policy level, which I will not focus here. So the first part we talk about the issue with greening of IT, and second part talking about the greening by IT. Then we start with the greening of IT. So what does that mean, green part in the greening of IT? So to begin with, let's look at this figure. The one on the top in the screen, you see a typical illustration for how people interact with computer-based systems. Uh, uh, yeah, in a classic way, you see the users interact with different hardware parts of the computer. You are using the mouse to move around within the screen, use a keyboard to type for the documents, and you use, for example, a printer to print or to send the information further. And we also see to be able to actually do useful things with the computer, you need a software. So the computer is only the pure hardware parts. You cannot do much. You cannot do anything actually without operating systems. And on top of the operating system, you can install different software to help you to do professional things. You need the Microsoft Word, for example, to help you to create and write documents, right? You need Excel, for example, to do like calculation and to create the calculating sheet. Yeah, and of course, like I'm using PowerPoint and a software program help me to record this video. So this is essential part of a computer-based systems. And when we're talking about greening IT, we will talk about how the green concept apply to each of these elements. We were not missing the data part, right? Data is what we produce and what we consume every day. So that's probably the most meaningful thing for us when you read books, you read newspaper, you watch videos, and you browse through your friends social media page. So this is all data has been stored and transferred and present to you via internet. So as from the engineering aspect, this is my expertise. We're looking into how, from an idea from the first like wish, how we can develop and we can build a product that represent this idea and the needs. So there is a process of development and maintenance and usage of the products. And greening also have a meaning for this development process. So let's talk about the first part, the computer-based systems and the environmental impact regarding the systems is mainly coming from the electricity consumptions. You can look at the chart is given by a reliable source. They have conducted a study to understand how energy has been consumed currently and the estimation on the future consumptions of energies. In the chart, you see the blue area represent for how networks layer, including both wireless and wired infrastructure, how the network infrastructure consume electricity. And as I mentioned, how IT artifact, how products are produced and managed is represented by the red zones, red areas in the chart. And how consumer device, this is the end device consumption can be considered as part of the computer-based system usage, and how they consume energy from different devices like mobile phone, computer, televisions. And you see the green part that has been very small in the beginning, and it expected to be a very large part how the data center will consume the energy. So yeah, you see quickly here in the future, network and data center will be a significant part that consume energy. So whether we can manage, we can optimize the data center, can optimize the network, it will have the significant impact on how we can keep the ICT or IT sector green and sustainable. Uh, Even though production of IT and consumer device doesn't do not consume as much electricity as other two part, but it is also a significant part. So we will go through this all. Um, Electricities are consumed due to the need of storing, processing, and transferring data locally and globally via internet. Everybody know internet that we anytime you open your computer or mobile, so 99% that you will be connected to internet by some way, right? By the wire or by 5G or by the network provided by the university, right? So there are an immense amount of data that has been stored, processed, and transferred every day via internet. There's some numbers here showing how immense it is. So 55 plus billion web pages are indexed by Google by the end of last year. And there are 672 available exabytes that you can access via internet. And you can see here how, yeah, you see the small diagrams in the bottom right corner explain the scale. Uh, I think maybe more than gigabyte is not very common unit. You do not hear very common if you're not in the IT domain. So, for example, before gigabyte, we have terabyte, and then we have petabyte and exabyte. So after that, we had zettabyte and yottabyte. So total data stored on the internet nowadays is more than 1 yottabyte. So it's a really a lot of data that maybe many of you cannot imagine about. And the data traffic via internet is also a huge number, showing that we reached like 161 exabyte per month in 2020. And let's see how much electricity that a YouTube consumer actually consume when you using watching YouTube. Yeah, this is a useful demonstration on how much electricity are consumed when one created and watch one YouTube video. And then imagine that there's a enormous amount of clips and videos that produce and store in YouTube. And not only YouTube, there are many other streaming and video producing platform nowadays like Vimeo. So you can imagine how large it is, the electricity had been used in this portion. And the second concern is the data center, and you